Live, perfect. Awesome, there we are there, and I just always double check, because that's what I do.
Yeah, gotta make sure.
Just make sure it's actually live. And it is, there it goes, okay,
right.
awesome. All right, well, welcome.
Thank you.
Let's try that again with my hoarse voice. So welcome to this episode. I'm so excited. You know, I've never had somebody on here before that has a story quite like yours. So I'm really, really excited to have you on as a guest with your very first podcast, I hear.
I
right?
know, yeah, it is. It's exciting. It's exciting.
I'm excited to have you there. So I have Zahir Maredia on our call today, who actually was #1 units last year.
Yes, yes. I
Units.
believe so, yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
you need to go to awards. Remember that?
Yes. I know you dragged me all the way from Houston to here and you said it'll be worth it, and it was.
And it
So,
was. Aren't you glad you listened to me?
yes, absolutely.
And you know, when I was looking at that, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, because, and I want to talk about your story because you have a very unique story,
Right.
but there's always a way to win. And that's why I have this thing on my wall called Playing to Win, right?
Right. Yeah.
There's always a way to win.
It is.
And
It
you're
is.
finding the way to win at a really high level. I mean, you were just telling me, you know, half year, you know, in this year, you're like, I don't know if you're okay.
That's fine.
Numbers. Is it okay?
Yeah.
You're like at $250,000 already.
Right.
In GCI, which is gross commission income.
Yeah.
In leases. Okay. This man has a very unique value proposition. You focus really on high-end apartments.
Yeah. And I do Austin and Houston markets. So it's keeping me afloat, to say the least.
Okay, keeping you busy too.
Right.
But that's very specific. And I haven't really had somebody in this chair, in this podcast with me that really has built such a big business just on leasing, because leasing is like 20% of what we do as realtors. People may not realize that.
Right.
But we help people with anything real estate. And a lot of times people, you know, aren't ready to buy because they're relocating for jobs or life changes or whatever. And there's a huge high-end market, and you've really tapped into that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when I mean, it's a long story, but, you know, coming to what you're saying, basically leasing is something that is a hassle, no doubt, is what other people look at it. But also if you play it right, you know, you're able to ace it. But I think more than just that, I think it's all about, you know, going into deeper realms is, you know, you got to figure out what your mission in life is and what you want to do. And I believe in that. I believe in, you know, everyone's got their own, you know, thumbprints that are unique from each other's. There's a reason why we're all the way we are, is because we just have to be ourselves. You know, we don't have to be somebody else. When I got into Keller Williams, I met with one of the colleagues here, Jeff, right? And he does commercial.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like, I want to be this guy. Like, I want to be this guy. He's, you know, he's something I you know, want to do and get into commercial and all that. So for about a few months, I just kept racking Jeff's brains, like, can you help me get into this field? And the thing is, even he didn't know the answer to how, like, he got me, you know, the starter pack, but it somehow wasn't working. So I figured
you were really trying to go the commercial.
Right. And I've, you know, I listened to podcasts, and one of the podcasts was with Oprah Winfrey and Michael Beckwith or somebody, and she said, like, you know, if you look at other people's territory and abandon your own, it's just going to create more of envy than, you know, what you're meant to do. So just live your soul's mission and it will come as easy as breathing, right? And so that's what I'm doing. I mean, people always tell me, they're like, well, why don't you do commercial? You're a very commercial guy. Or, you know, why don't you do a lot of $1 million homes? And I'm like, well, you know, I could do that. And I tried doing that, but it did not fulfill me, honestly. I live every day listening to different stories of the blue collar and, you know, the regular white collared people and the working class Americans. And, you know, I've realized there's so much there that needs elevation. And you know, I believe in uplifting people that need the help. So, I mean, I could sell $1 million homes or do commercial and make the richer richer. But I mean, is that so fulfilling at the end of the day? it just depends, so.
And it doesn't mean down the road you won't do that for
Of
whatever
course.
reason, if your clients are,
Yeah.
right, that you don't know, you can't predict the future, but what's
Right.
driving you right now is that
is
you get
that
to make a bigger impact in what you're
Yeah,
doing right now, in
absolutely.
your opinion. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Can I tell you something?
Yes.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Michael Beckwith, I know him.
What?
So I can't believe you just said that name.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's incredible.
Yeah, my dad goes to his church in Los Angeles.
He
So I met him when he
speaks-
first started,
yeah.
before he got all famous.
Like, on the day. Yeah.
You have you.
Oh, wow. I believe it's just ab- I'm never said wrong guy. I was like, oh, I just tried to finally uh and relate to everyone, and so, uh, uh, uh,
In that school.
oh, 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 right, right. And yeah, being I, I was just big again, friends, and um, you know, like, being I did
Okay.
But Tom told me that first uh, they have some months
Extra.
uh, uh, had a my and we started a hunts and get that and check. I, I wonder strong. You got to touch yourself with it because people will become and so they were like, if they come up a restaurant, recommendations, you need to know what good sushi places around, what oh, 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 place up north area. So, uh, uh,
Yeah.
I realize how you want to be treated on the other end.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I think I think also I would add to that, you should always live somewhere else. With another.
Or out of the
it grew.
uh, 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 uh,
Uh, uh, uh,
immigration was still an issue,
Did they
and
sponsor you in that role? Like, did
no,
they?
I had a work permit
Okay.
pertaining to hospitality, so I could only in hospitality. So I that a try. I did it, and permit came to it, and then I was, my mind would keep telling me it's back, and all the hotels, everything is we have shit going on the side here, and you have to be there. And I realized that I had my own like
No, I
uh,
got that.
I said my own story to write. And so I said writer. Um, I got you know truck stop project, and I invested in a hotel up in Dallas right before COVID hit.
Timing.
Ironic, I know, it's crazy. So that happened, and then all of our income stopped, including, my family's business there in India, because,
Oh, yeah.
we didn't get any PPP loans like you guys did
Yeah,
here.
right. No support from the government, right?
Yeah,
For
so
all these businesses, and you have these hotels and nobody can travel.
right, and
And you still
so
have staff and
yeah,
everything
people to
pay for.
feed, yeah, and so
fixed costs.
yeah, so we ran out of reserve funds,
Okay.
which is interesting. We picked up loans to pay our staff because we wanted to keep, them from not having food. And I've heard stories when I went back about just some staff people. They said we could only eat one meal a day, while in America we were baking breads and doing all these crazy cooking things. And they said we have like he's the only sole earner, and there was four people behind him, his kids, his wife, and all of that. So he said, he didn't have the luxury to feed him every day, so he had one meal a day, and that was that. And so in any case, and he was so thankful. He said, because you guys paid us partly during that time, I was able to feed my kids. So he said, I'm going to stick around with you guys for as long as I can. And so in any case, God is merciful, and right after COVID ended, we hit record numbers in sales, the highest ever in the 30-40 years of us being in hospitality. So God is a giver. You just have to,
the timing's not always what you expect.
right, right. And it's all about just, doing what's right.
Yeah.
Because your mind and your soul are two different entities. How your core is telling you something else and your mind is telling you something else. You should always go listen to the core, because that's where because the mind is making up stories. It's not, it's fictional. But your soul is where the true decisions lie. So the mind would tell us that don't pay the staff because you're running out of funds here. But the soul said, no, you have to do this. It's right. So in any case, I lost my income and all of that. And then I was like, well, what's next?
It's beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
I think that's really beautiful, and I'm really glad you shared that.
Yeah,
It says a lot about who you and your family are.
Right, and I'm proud of that. It was my late uncle's decision to do that.
Beautiful.
So, and so in any case, income stopped, and then I was like, what's next? And when I was younger, I always thought of becoming a realtor or doing real estate, but it was only a dream because of my immigration status. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I'd watch like the show on Bravo was selling no, $1 Million Agent or something.
Something, one of those.
Something, one of
yeah.
those with
Okay.
Ryan Serhant
Oh,
on it.
yeah, okay.
And so it was a great show. I was like, oh wow, wouldn't it be nice to do this? Like,
Yeah.
just, sell homes and, interact with people and all that. In any case, I studied during COVID. And during COVID, I started with a cousin of mine. And, because it was COVID, we couldn't go out and all of that. So I said I'd conveniently do something that I could do from home, but real estate sales. And so I started doing this apartment locating stuff where I could send people and leasing agents would see them or just talk to them online about this apartment and like, convince them and see how the market is. And obviously the market at that point was more on the home sale side because the
Yeah.
interest rates were low.
It kind of blowing up.
Right. And
Yeah.
so for me, I wasn't ready for that back then because it's a whole different ballgame. But with apartment locating, it was kind of simpler to maneuver. So I did that, and then I've stuck around doing it for so long, and it's been 3 years doing this, and I know the ins and outs of it. And yeah, every day is a new thing even for leases because
For sure.
people with different backgrounds, people have different credit scores and people like it's a different chart. But once you have the experience, you're able to help these people in minutes and
Yeah.
then they're just so happy. And that for me, at the end of the day, that makes me happy is to see that they found a place to live.
Yeah. I mean,
You
this is
know?
where they live. It's where they're gonna have,
Yeah.
have their families or whatever. You know what I love about this is if you're in the real estate space, then you understand this, that nobody except for Zahir usually loves leases, like, because leases tend to be a lot more work than you'd imagine because it's how different, especially with apartments, like how people pay and different things, like there's a different level of complication there that you don't really deal with. And
Right.
yet you gravitated towards that
Mhm.
to help people like navigate that
Yeah.
and make it easier for them. But yet you were very specific, like it's not even single family residence rentals, like you really
Yeah.
targeted a higher end. How did you know to do that? Like, how did you decide that?
It just came to me, honestly. I started researching and I just found out apartments are paying such and such amounts.
So it's,
And it was just intuitive. It was like
yeah,
somebody was like, "Oh, do you oh, actually, backtracking to that, while I was, trying to figure all this out, like before, like I think during COVID, right, as I lost my income,
yeah.
I was don't judge me, but I was on Craigslist looking up things to do like side gigs or something. And so
This is a no judgment zone on this
yeah.
podcast, by the way.
And so
We don't judge, we give it grow.
so there was a guy that was into apartment locating
Okay,
and he said, I will pay you about whatever, a dollar per ad that you upload for me on Craigslist and all these different portals. All you have to do is take photos from their websites and put it up and, just, upload it on this portal and then I will pay you. And then I started doing that for him for a short amount of time. And that's where I kind of got the idea that, oh, this exists, this niche.
there's a need for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It exists. So and then I said, because I'll be doing this full time, like real estate, right now that I've decided to venture into it, I'm gonna get into commercial, I'm gonna get into residential, and I'm gonna get into apartment locating. And my long-term goal in life is to be an encyclopedia of real estate.
Okay.
Because I feel like everywhere I've gone and everywhere I've turned to in any company, I've realized that there's only so much room for them to offer you in terms of knowledge.
Sure.
Because not everyone has the answers to everything.
Sure. How boring would that be if everybody did?
Yeah, but that's the thing. I live my life with the thirst of knowledge to learn and expand my horizons.
Yeah.
And that's what I enjoy. So I feel like I want to learn all these things and then pass them on to people to know. The reason why I'm at Keller Williams and not any other brokerage is you can use this line to endorse.
Zooming in on
I
this.
know, right? A drum roll.
Clip out of there.
So the reason why I'm here is because people ask me, they're like, why are you paying that much in fees and all of that? And I said, okay, tell me one brokerage. And I say this to other realtors too. I said, tell me one brokerage that will let me do what I do in apartment locating. Because I also close on houses every year. It's
Yeah,
not like
right.
I'm not doing houses.
Yep.
And lets me do commercial real estate all in Austin and in Houston. And if I want to expand to Dallas markets or San Antonio markets,
Yeah.
tell me one brokerage that will let me do that.
Yeah.
And also tell me one brokerage that won't like has a certain cap and then everything is your own. And you know, because there's others that will, you know, take half or whatever they have
Yeah.
for as long as you're an agent with them.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh, yeah. The economic model at Keller Williams is very attractive for producing agents because it's whatever that number is, wherever, what city you're in, you're done and it's all yours,
Yeah.
right? It's very attractive. I love that. Thank you for saying that. It's that distribution network I hear you say too, right? And being able to be in alignment. And I think we're having actually more and more brokers, like small independent brokers, come to Keller Williams because it's also getting a little bit on the resale side, interesting out there with all the different things. And
things going
so
on, yeah.
wanting to be with a company and aligned with a company, I think it's really important that like who you surround yourself with matters and never being with a company that wants to be the ceiling or the lid on your potential. And I that's exactly why I'm still with Keller Williams my entire 18-year career is I never felt like it was a company I would outgrow.
Right.
Because there's always, I may
Room
be the
to
top,
change.
there's always room. I may be the top dog in this location, but guess what? In New York or LA or whatever, there's somebody I can learn from, right?
Absolutely. It's a whole big family.
I love
to
that.
learn from.
Okay, so now you look at where you are now, and by the way, for those of you who don't understand, like apartments also pay better than the, you know, single family rentals, right? So that's also a really smart decision on your end. They're just kind of
terrible at payouts.
Exactly. It just may take a long time, but eventually, you know, sometimes you have to get your attorneys involved, as we've experienced, right? So okay, so now you're on track. Your goal is $500,000 GCI this year.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
That's good.
it'd
We're
be
saying it
nice.
out loud. We're saying it out loud.
You know, I used to have those goals and all that, and I realized like I think, you know, I reached a point in like half this year where I thought I was overworking myself. And I think there needs to be a balance between, you know, your you know, work and your personal life. And I mean, I took calls like I still do, guilty, but 10 p.m. at night or like, you know, 6 a.m. in the mornings. The latest call I've taken is at 1 a.m. once, and then I've taken a call as early as 5:30 in the morning because I was up. So I was like, oh, let me just, you know, every call is $1. So is a couple dollars at least. So I'm like, why not? So yeah, I did that for a little bit, but then I realized like this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So in order to keep going, you have to leverage things. So I'm, you know, I have a team now, I have a photographer, I have an assistant and all of that. So that helps a lot. So now I can run again because I've, you know,
have some leverage in your life.
Right.
And it's about, you know, I'm reading this book. I can't remember the name of the book right now, but it's about energy management. And, you know, because when you do, it is the long play, right? And you will burn out if you don't find that leverage in your life. And it's really your energy management. So when you get other people that can do the other things, you can have such a bigger impact in the world when you're managing your energy.
Absolutely. And I'm very selective, and you know this too. Like I'm very introverted extrovert.
Yes.
So
that's why I'm so happy he's on my first podcast for him ever.
Yeah, for the award show, I was sitting like second last row.
But you showed up.
I did show up. I did. And it was just funny walking up all the way to the front. I was like, oh, I just want to disappear because I'm not that guy. I told you this even last year before the awards. I don't have one headshot of me online.
It was really hard to find one, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
LinkedIn.
Yes, I actually
LinkedIn.
just uploaded that like not too long ago.
3 months ago.
Because I was like, people need to know who the guy is and not a ghost.
Yes, exactly.
So
very lovely disposition. So
thank
should
you.
show your face.
I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I definitely got to do it. But yeah, just something about just being in like just doing photo shoots and all that just sounds vain to me. I
Yeah.
know, all due respect to everyone else that's doing it.
And yet you
I'm
like
just
that
camera
TV
shy.
show that you. Yeah, that's great. No, you're
Yeah,
just a humble
yeah,
guy. You are, but
yeah.
and yet as you grow and evolve, you'll get comfortable with certain things. That doesn't mean that changes who you are.
Right,
But it's a
right.
relationship. This is all about relationships. So
Mhm.
people need to
See who they're
see who
talking
they're
to.
talking to, that this is you're a
Absolutely.
person and you're
Right.
coming from that,
Yeah.
relationship
As
perspective.
as
Yeah.
stubborn as I am, I stuck around for 2 years not doing that. For me, it's all about the product. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter who's selling it. So for me, I that was my belief, that it was like it's the product. I'm not on display, but the product is. So the houses are. But I get it. People want to know who they're going to be working with. But it works so well for me. Just
Well,
do
you know
what I
what's
did.
good, what's good about that actually, as you build out your team over the next years, because you're not the product,
Hmm.
that will actually serve you well.
I think
Because a
so.
lot
Yeah.
of real estate icons, all of us that are very loud, I'm very loud online and stuff like that, we become the
It's great.
product, which is, it works, right?
Yeah.
However, replacing yourself from that is tricky when you're the loud product, right?
Yeah.
So you building what you're building, your empire and your business and all the things that
Mhm.
you're not actually the product, like you still need to be recognizable, but you don't make it about you. You
Mhm.
make it about the service that you're providing. So as you grow, you can leverage with other people. Like I think
Yeah.
that's actually gonna work
Yeah.
in your favor.
And there's a flip side to everything.
Always is.
As much as it's not about me, it still is kind of about me because I'm being myself.
Yeah.
So I'm being me and I'm just not a camera guy. So
Okay.
I enjoy that I don't have to do that. And so that's what my advice to people is, just be you.
Yeah.
It comes as easy as breathing. And before you know it, you're already, hitting success. And also, who is to define success? It's not the numbers. I know, like, maybe that 500,000 target is that number, but I could get there and realize that I'm not successful. It's a mindset. It's all
Right.
about
Yeah.
being content with where you are. And a lot of people these days, they practice they do gratitude, they do their journal work and everything. And so that's what it is. Success is being content with who you are as a person, being surrounded by amazing people and leaders like yourself, and just being, money comes and goes in life. It's just very fickle. And I know in sales we're always told that it's the definition of who you are, and in terms of numbers and statistics, and that's great. And that's great for whoever. And I have that benchmark when I want to get there, and then eventually live your life's mission, whatever you're here for. And for me, it's elevating people, helping them out, passing on my knowledge of real estate to people, creating a legacy of sorts. And that's what Keller Williams is, right? It's a legacy. So
What do you want your legacy to be?
um I want my legacy to be of, like I said, uplifting people, and people, because if you think about it, nobody, like everybody in their family, if you go 3 generations up, their names aren't even mentioned. Think
That's
of
so
your,
true.
it's funny, but I've I've had this thought once. Think of your life, and as fickle as it sounds, think of your life as a parking spot in a shopping center. Right? Because you know, somebody else takes over that spot
Yeah, when you
eventually
pull
when they
away,
pull
yeah,
away. So
yeah.
same thing when I went to college after I graduated, went back to the places I lived in. I said, "Oh, somebody else is living there now," but that was my home. That's so weird. And then I'm not there anymore.
Mhm.
But in any case, I said, "Oh yeah, we had spray painted something on the side. I could still see that." So I'm like, "That's my legacy."
Yeah, right?
Right.
So leaving an impact,
Leaving
right?
an impact.
Okay.
So for me, it's about people out there that are diverse, that from different backgrounds, coming in from different parts of the world to America, that are trying to make their career happen, or people in this country itself that are you know um not sure of who they are, or how they want to do real estate.
Yeah.
My advice is, don't chase after what other people are doing in the brokerage. I look at myself as a horse with blinders on.
Mhm.
And there's part of the reason why
You
I'm
really do that.
so isolated from
Mhm.
everyone over here. I just do
You're
my
the
own
only one you
thing.
talk to.
Yeah.
You're
Now
talking.
now I know accounting is like,
You gotta get me in for the legal, but
yeah. Like accounting.
attorneys to get paid, but
Yeah, accounting is like, yeah, Miranda's my
Screwed up.
bestie. She's like,
Exactly.
she's on it. So, but no, I'm not like, I have friends out of all this and family, so it's great.
You're
But
focused.
I am focused, and I feel like I could talk to other agents, and that's great. But yeah, it's just like everyone's got their own thing to do and work on. And I feel like when people talk to me or I talk to them, they have all these different ideas, and then you're like, damn, why couldn't I do that? And that's human tendency,
Of
right?
course, yeah.
So
Comparison is the thief of all joy or whatever, right?
yeah. So yeah, just legacy is, just to be who I am, inspire people in ways and different forms, and just make them realize that, as the world we're living in right now is obviously really dark, but you have to be the light in the dark, right?
Yeah.
And it's not the money that's important. It's more of your ethics. So if you conduct your business, real estate business, with ethics, and if you're doing the right thing, then money follows.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I was by no means implying that that was what you were driven by. I just want
Yeah.
to say, I want to point out that you found a way of what's possible, and that's with rentals. And I just want to say that's a big life, that's a big life. And I applaud you for that, because you found the way. You've made it really great. You work hard for that.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but you're so driven by purpose. You're so driven by authenticity, and I love that. That's you being you.
And I was that guy, don't get me wrong. I was like, how much money am I going to make out of real estate? Like, how am I going to, and then the first year you hit six figures, you're like, great. Second year, you're like, oh, awesome. And then, after the third year or fourth year, you're like, okay, what else? Like,
not meaningful.
So the numbers feel great, but it's more than just the numbers. It's about, impacting people and their lives. So,
I mean, you want to like streamline the whole, like making it easier for
yes,
rentals. Like you
yeah,
have
I'd
bigger.
like that, because it's funny. I come from India, and here I am in America, where I'm realizing you're getting treated the same way as the laws are there, like very, loose. And so I was gobsmacked when they would just loosely just, not pay me like that. And, with apartments. And I said, they need to be regulated. And so I've talked to Emmy about this as well, who's a broker.
In our location.
Right. And I said, if I could do this for people, because there's a lot of money to be made in this industry. And my only issue is, I know it's going to sound like a rant, but my only issue is, you got to be a man of your words or a woman of your words.
Of course.
So if you're promising a certain payout in a certain timeline,
service,
right?
Yeah.
You ought to pay that, and not leave it loose-ended and take people for a ride. So that's my thing. Like, not only is it going to be home sales and all that, but also to streamline this for other people to enjoy the benefits, because there's a lot of money to be made. But the reason why, and I've talked to people in our brokerage about this too, is why they don't do this is because it's a hassle to get paid out.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
did you say one client you were servicing or something, like actually fired the payroll service because they were so terrible to the agents? Because
right, I'm not going to name names
No, we
here,
won't talk about
but
companies,
but
that's
a
making an
management
impact.
company is the ownership is happy to pay out, but these management companies want to,
Or the middleman, they're like blocking it, right? So they're kind of, it's not necessarily this guy, it's the guy in the middle.
right.
I want to go back to something with you,
Sure.
and then I want to ask you another question.
Yeah.
So after college, you had this choice to make. You could have gone back to build the empire, because you were like not finding any kind of, like, no one was sponsoring you. It became harder to like have opportunities here.
Right.
And yet you said, I don't want to go back to India. That's your story.
Yeah.
I want to write my own.
Right.
I love that. Okay.
Right.
I love that more than I can even tell you. And yet you've created such an amazing story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And you're
thank
just
you.
at the beginning of your story.
I am.
You're just
Yes,
starting, darling. You are just
yes,
starting at this. I'm
I
so
am.
excited for you.
Thank you.
So what are you most excited about in
Um,
your future?
I am most excited about getting into development. Uh, and you know, doing sales obviously, but parking that money into different, you know,
Yeah.
portfolios of like hospitality or rentals and different platforms and different places to I like to diversify my portfolio.
Okay.
So I'd like to get into development, and that's
Okay.
why
You still have the hotels.
right,
None of
right.
them went under, and which is
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. And actually
Yeah.
there's one
You're
in the works. We're doing a first ever in the city Hilton Garden Inn, which is going to be
Here in Austin?
no, in Mumbai
In
by
Mumbai. Oh,
the
in
airport.
Mumbai. Oh,
So
wow. Oh, that's right. You told me about the
yeah,
Mumbai one. Yeah.
so we'll be doing
Wow.
that, but also
That's the first Hilton?
in my city,
Uh-huh.
it's the first Hilton Garden Inn,
Hilton Garden Inn. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
which is
Okay.
not like a
Yeah. Yeah.
Hilton Garden
No,
Inn
I know it.
here,
Yeah.
but its Asian standards of
Okay.
hotels is way
Higher.
higher.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
but in any case, so
That's a
that's
big
going
deal.
on there. But
Yeah.
like while I'm here, I'm also developing an RV park right outside of you know, like by Dale and by Tesla
Nice.
Gigafactory.
Okay.
And so that's going on, and then I have you know, I'm looking into maybe starting a you know, like a cocktail bar in Houston if possible, and yeah, just different ventures, just fun little things.
I can't wait to see 10 years from now, like
Yeah.
what your world looks like.
Yeah, I mean, whatever it's going to look like, it's going to be very service oriented.
Yes.
And
That's what I love most
I
about it, actually.
when I you know, wake up or whatever time it is and I have time to myself and I'm in peace, I always I have this thing where I um ask God or the universe or whatever you want to call it, whoever you believe in, that just take me in the direction I need to go in and give me a sign and I will pick up on it. And oftentimes people are like, "Oh, I prayed, I did that and it didn't work," you know, and you know, I'm in this miserable position. And people don't realize if you ask God or the universe a sign, you will get it. You will get that sign. All you have to do is take baby steps towards that,
Yeah.
to lead you to where you need to go. So
Mhm.
to say that I'm going to do this or do that, I live in surrender mode.
Okay.
And I think that's where all the magic happens.
Mhm.
Because the second you know, you know, I'm like a stickler of my target sometimes. So, you know, I'm like, okay, whatever. At least I'm grateful that I did what I did at least the first 6 months of the year.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I have you know, a roof over my head. I have
Yeah.
clean
Still a
air,
great life.
right? Still a great life. And there's people out there in different parts of the world suffering. And so the second I'm grateful and I just live in the present, in comes the phone call and all these leads and all these people, and you know, I get like, you know, all these leases. Like that happened to me 2 days ago. I think that's like the biggest lease commission I made.
Wow.
I made about 4,500,
Okay.
and it was just a client that I did a phone call with, and I suggested these couple places to him, and he was driving in from town looking at a house, but I rerouted him to a townhouse. And so it just, yeah, so that's the thing. Like you pick
Moves
him
the
up
line.
in
Yeah.
minutes, and
Yeah.
it's a deal, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And it's easy as it sounds, but in any case, he was so thankful. He's like, I've talked to so many locators and they're not responsive, and you're like super like on it. And so
Yeah. It's stressful finding a place. I mean,
yeah,
and that's one thing that we can all agree on is everybody's had to move, everybody, right? And how stressful it is and how wonderful it is when you have somebody that's responsive and helping you
absolutely.
navigate that. That's why I really believe in our industry and what we do for great people.
Right.
There will always
And
be a place for great people that come
absolutely.
from contribution. But I just want to stick on this 1 second. It's just you give to surrender, right?
Yeah.
And there's something about we don't quiet our minds enough
Mm-hmm.
because we're in
Always.
this mode of go, go,
Right.
go, go, go. And when you quiet it,
Mm-hmm.
when you quiet your mind and you allow it, and whether it's prayer or meditation or whatever, it's amazing how
Yeah.
you're letting like life happen
Mm-hmm.
again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's such a more powerful energy to live in, is in gratitude.
Mhm.
And right. And
Yeah.
it's such a different energy. You attract all kinds of different things to your world.
It does. And I feel like the most successful people you'll talk to will say this to you. And also the most successful people, you ask him about how they got this beautiful house or this nice car or whatever it is. It just flows so effortlessly. They're like, oh, it's just there. Like it's not,
Yeah.
it's just here. Like, and so, you know, oftentimes we envy what other people have and we don't, but we have something in us that the other person does not, and we need to look at that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so then
I love that.
that's what it is.
I love that. Okay. One question I ask all my guests
Yeah.
on the show is, what does playing to win look
Mhm.
like for you?
Uh, Playing to win, it's such a broad,
It is. So take it wherever you want. You know,
yeah.
what does playing to win look like to Zahir?
Playing to win is being ambitious and not losing that fire.
Mm,
Because the day you lose that fire, you're not going to be playing, you're not going to be winning either.
that's right.
So you got to have the fire, you got to have the drive,
Okay.
whatever it is. You do it for your family, you wake up every morning, you do it for your friends, you do it for the people that are out there that need help, whoever you do it for, yourself.
Mhm.
Whoever you do it for, just do it best, and that will get you playing and winning.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Okay, what did I not ask you that I should have asked you that you would like to share with our listeners
I
today?
mean, we have the queen of podcasting here. She's done so many episodes, and she's asking an amateur.
You still
Um,
maybe some of your story that that you didn't get to say, or
Yeah.
something, some last inspiration. How about just a last parting thought then for our listeners? Like a last parting
Yeah.
thought too, because the whole concept of this podcast
Mhm.
is playing to win,
Right.
which is very different than playing not to lose. It's a different energy. It's a you're deciding. And there's so many things here that I love from this episode, like the heart and the core.
Yeah.
I mean, the head and the core.
Right.
And we were just talking, Mo Anderson was on a call Monday and she was saying, you know, your mind is a part of your body.
It
Your
is.
mind is a part of your body. So it's your heart, right?
Yeah.
But your mind is a part of your body, just like your arms and legs.
Mhm.
And it should be, you know, you should be the master of it.
Right.
And not other way around. And I think we live in a world right now where there's a lot of depression and there's a lot of angst and unknowns and
Yeah.
like you said, there's a lot of darkness out
Mhm.
there. And the more light that we can bring, but you can only do that when you lead with the core and coming from
Yeah.
good. And that's what I love about
Yeah.
what you're doing in the world, because
Yeah.
you are a light.
You know, there's an interesting story. I'll say this is my cousin actually recently, she tried to buy a house, and so I she's like, how much commission are you going to take? And I said, in my head, I said, I'll think over it and I'll let you know. My core was telling me, don't take anything. You grew up with this, she's like a sister, and we were so tight. And I said, don't take anything. Just give it away, and my mind was like, no, you working for it, you should take it, um and I said, you know what, I'm gonna experiment and I'm gonna listen to my core. And I did. And I said, I'm not taking anything. She's startled. She's like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, I think this is the right thing to do, so I'm not taking anything. And I said, worst case scenario, I'm getting the experience of closing on a house, right?
Yeah.
And so I did that. I gave her the commission.
And you could do that because you're capped.
Right. Yeah.
Just FYI,
Yeah,
if anybody gets
just-
any ideas out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Exactly, guys. I'm playing it by the rules.
Yeah, exactly. It's plain man, okay?
Yeah. Yeah. And so I gave her the commission, but
Wow.
that was the highest grossing commission month ever for me in the history of me doing this for 3 years. So I feel
Wow.
like, yeah, so I feel like it comes from different avenues
Yeah,
and different places,
love
but
that.
the numbers for that month were the highest ever,
It's life rewarding you,
right?
right?
Yeah.
For
So
listening to that.
yeah, just play it
Listen to
right.
your core, guys. That's
Yeah.
what I got a lot out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
And the idea of surrendering money, because it's just, it's just like monopoly money
It's
at the
like
end
a
of,
tool.
right?
It's like
Right.
yeah.
And I know you can, people are out there like, oh yeah, right. Like you haven't experienced like, issues and all that. But, like I've had it rough sometimes too, before I started all of this and, in COVID times. So, but yeah, money, when you get to that point of having the money, you realize that that's not the answer to your problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
so much more than that, right? It's so much, money can do great things. Money's good for the good that it can do. Money can be a great tool and you can make huge impact with money. However, if it's just about that, that's a very lonely road.
Yeah.
It's a very unfulfilling road
Right.
if it's
And
just
so
that.
playing to win involves players with you, not
Yeah.
just a solo trip.
That's right. That is true, right? It's like, yeah, that is so true. But again, I applaud you for all that you're doing and you're
Thank
just
you.
getting started. But I love that you've taken not the easy route, which is to go back to India and just take over all these hotels and
Right.
just be, in your father's story.
Yeah.
And that you're writing your own. And so my hope for the listeners today is that you guys go write your story. Write your story, man, because it's a beautiful story. And your story is unique, just like Zahir's is and mine is, and anybody that's listening on this call today. We're all beautifully unique with our own heartbreak and wonderful moments and all the
skills.
things,
Yeah.
that make us
Yeah.
who we are today.
Absolutely.
And so live in that and
Absolutely.
embrace that. And we wish you all big lives. I can't wait to see the future for
Thank
you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh,
It's been great. It's been an honor. First ever podcast.
okay. Well, we got it now recorded, first ever. So I expect when you have all this takeover world domination, you're going to
Oh,
quote,
hopefully.
it was that podcast I did with Melanie. I love it. Thank you for listening,
Thank
you
you.
guys, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.